I'm Matt Landau from vrmb.com, and this is Unlocked, the Sarah and T edition. Wait, what? Folks, if you're an Unlocked listener, you are thoughtfully building your vacation rental business in your community. And you know one big way to get ahead is by combining forces with other leaders who stand for the same values as you do. It's like 1 + 1 = 3 sort of math. So in the podcast realm, Tim Cafferty and Sarah Bradford are not only two of the world's most professional vacation rental managers. Tim's in the Outer Banks and Sarah is in Colorado. But they also have one of the industry's leading podcasts called Sarah and T, which I listen to regularly. So we thought it would be cool to air one of their recent episodes in which they address something that applies to everyone that we haven't covered before. The crucial first impressions when a guest arrives at your vacation home. The tone that these first moments set oftentimes creates a narrative for the entire stay, no matter what happens after that. So in this episode, which we will play in its entirety, Sarah and Tim use decades of experience managing hundreds of properties to share 5 ways you can set the tone up front so your guests have the best first impressions possible. And don't worry, regular programming of the Unlocked podcast will resume as scheduled. We just thought it would be cool to do this because teamwork makes the dream work. Okay, let's go.
Welcome to Sarah and T, the podcast that focuses on professional vacation rental management. Brought to you by Sarah Bradford of Winter Park Lodging Company and Steamboat Lodging Company located in the mountains of Colorado, as well as Tim Cafferty of Outer Banks Blue and Sandbridge Blue Realty Services on the coast of North Carolina and Virginia. Separately, Sarah and T manage more than 600 vacation rental properties and are regarded as 2 of the top experts on vacation rental management. Together, they bring you this podcast to share their experience, have some fun, and let you know that you are not alone in this crazy business of providing short-term rentals to the public. Now, for the next 30 minutes or so, get ready to have some fun and maybe learn something. Here's our hosts, Sarah and T.
Yes, we are. Tim and Sarah here with you again, episode 92. Oh my gosh. Sarah, you know, they say first impressions are made in the first 7 seconds of meeting someone. Some say 1/10 of 1 second. People can identify traits of someone like trustworthiness. In podcasting, it may have taken 91 episodes for people to get trustworthiness with us. But in vacation rentals, how much time do you think we have in seeing what we like in a property and knowing it's the right one?
Well, I think we have to extend the 7 seconds to 15 minutes. Just let's give ourselves a bit of a break. I don't know if we can do it all in 7 seconds.
So you encouraged me, 2 seasons ago to do something every vacation rental manager should do, and that is become a real live guest. Whether it is your own property or even better yet, go to another location, preferably where you've not been before, and go and rent a vacation rental. If you don't bring home ideas to implement or things to be sure you aren't doing in your business, you do not have your eyes open.
I couldn't agree more, and I did just that this winter, Tim. I will keep the locale of where I went for this story I'll share later in the episode and the company where I stayed. I'm going to keep that all anonymous. But boy, did I learn a lot. I came back inspired, and it's not because it went well. Most of what I learned was around the first 10, 15 minutes of us getting to the destination, of us getting to the property. And I think you've also experienced this many times too. Am I right?
You are right, ma'am. I think the last time I actually was in a vacation rental was there in Steamboat. I did not stay with Sarah, by the way. I stayed with a competing firm because, of course, she was full. In the first 15 minutes, that trustworthiness we just talked about actually eroded a little bit because things I was told and things I was expecting didn't exactly come out the way they should. And so that first 15 minutes, I internally question what our guests' experience are in this first 15 minutes. Are they losing trustworthiness?
Yes. So today we're going to dissect, let's call it those first 15 minutes. And we're going to go over 6 ways. You know, we love to have a countdown.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go over 6 ways you can ensure your guests are having an uplifting, exciting, and maybe the most important, easy arrival to a property you manage.
And Sarah, remind us why this matters.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you asked. We always need to talk about the why. I believe, and I think Tim does too, that those first few minutes when the guests arrive, and you could even add some time on before they even show up to the property, it sets the tone. It sets that trustworthiness. It sets what they think of you, your company, your property for the whole guest stay. If it all goes wrong the first 15 minutes and nothing else happens the rest of the stay, they still remember it. It's that moment you've been waiting for. You finding the spot you booked, seeing if it's better maybe than you even hoped from the photos. And when the whole group just says, fun, this is awesome. Or are they punching each other, getting frustrated, sweating, family fights start out, and they're kind of wondering, why did we go on vacation together?
That's right. We swore we'd never do this again. Oh, I couldn't agree more. So let's dig into our 6 ways we can all make sure it's more on the fun side and much less on the fight side. So here we go. Number 1, pre-arrival prep. Okay, we all know not just your property owners don't read, guests don't read. Your employees don't read. Your kids don't read. No, we all don't read. I didn't read today when Sarah was sending me something. So they don't answer their phones. They barely listen to their voicemails. They leave until the last moment when they're getting in the rental car or getting off the plane or turning off the exit of the highway to your destination. So it's essential you figure out how to get their attention before the hubby is stressing out in the car and says, "What's the address? Where are the keys? Where are we going?"
That's exactly what it sounds like.
It is. Well, I lived this past weekend in one of the houses I manage, and it's the house I own. The people arrived at the house and hadn't read their email about how to check in. They call the office. The answering machine comes on, or the automated attendant says the office is closed, and they hung up. Instead of listening 10 seconds later saying, the office is closed. If you're experiencing an emergency, I can only imagine what that woman was going through.
What did they do? They call the police?
No, they actually found one of our employees and they got in the house, but it wasn't a smooth pre-arrival prep, let's just say. Yeah. And it caused pain that, quite frankly, we never overcame. So we need to figure out that at least one person in the party knows what the plan is.
Whether it's an interactive email you send and you confirm they've read it somehow, which the only way you can really confirm that is they write you back a coherent response. A phone call until they answer and you get their attention. I hate to say it, but that's the best way to get their full attention. I noticed that when we were doing all these phone calls about ski reservations people had to make. When I finally got them on the phone, then I had their attention. They said, "Okay, I've been meaning to ask you, what about ski rentals? And hey, is this place 2 floors or 1?" And they just start asking questions and can prepare themselves for the arrival. But then there's also, you could do a text that requires a response. You just have to figure out, again, like Tim said, how to find that at least one person that is in that car, plane, train, however they're getting there, of what the plan is when they arrive. And I think it causes less stress on the getting to the property. Let's move on to number 2 on the list. And that is a boring name I came up with, but directions to the house. And, even 10 years ago when I was doing this, Tim, directions to the house meant we had to clock mileage, like 2 miles down this road, then take a right. And then when you see the blue house, take a left and there's a tree. And now we have Google Maps and all that. So you'd think, okay, now there's that navigation on their phone. Who cares about the directions to the house, right? But the fact is, a lot of us live in rural areas, first of all. So even if they're using Google Maps, even if they're using some sort of navigation and it's telling them exactly how to get there, it's so critical that you are clearly telling the guest the nuances in the directions. And I think you could probably think of some of these, Tim, as well. But we have some where it's a really hidden driveway, or yeah, you can get to this location called Fraser Crossing Founders Point, but Google Maps doesn't know how to tell them how to get there. So they go in the garage entrance the right way. And that's not frustrating. There are all those little things that sometimes the Google bots haven't even discovered the road. So number 2 really says, be sure your directions start off with the nuances. And I also think, Tim, it's so critical. I think because I'm a visual person, that you remind the guests of what they're looking for. If I just see the building, if at least I see a picture of something, then I know I'm looking for that pink house with the yellow shutters, or I'm looking for this really tall building or something. And when I see it, my husband's driving, I can be like, that's it. I know that's it. I saw it. But if you just try to give generic directions, or, Siri's talking to you or whatever and telling you in your English accent, turn left, you have arrived. And you're like in a forest, you don't know where you're going. It's hard to just really get that final item of pulling in and being at the right spot and knowing you're at the right spot. What do you think of that?
I think you're very passionate about number 2 on our list. It seems like you've had some experience on this.
Maybe I've had too many fights in the car, maybe with Chris.
Where are we going? Oh my gosh, that's great stuff. I would say from an operator standpoint, the vacation rental managers who are out there listening, okay, yeah, we got directions. They're all in there. Have you followed a little bit lately? Maybe in the off season is a good opportunity for you to have your maintenance guy or a new reservations agent or somebody who may not be completely familiar with the property to follow the directions that you actually have and see if they will get where they want to go.
Yeah, that's one of the best things we've ever done is new employees take what we have for the guest and they have to go use those directions to get in. And that is one more thing on my passion of number 2 is it can all go perfectly. They find the pink house, they pull in, all the other things happen right, and they get to the front door and you and I are using keyless entry, right? We're using keyless entry pads. And now they're confronted with technology and they've never seen this thing before. And everyone's standing around them, like almost jumping around to get in the door. And somebody's been chosen to enter the code that they're trying to get off their phone. And they don't read that you have to have the check mark after or the star after, or you don't make that clear. Or there's a lockbox and there's keyless entry. Or there's I've been to some properties like 3 lockboxes and you have to figure out which one. All that moment, make sure the keyless entry, however you're giving access, is super, super clear.
Yeah. Okay, so you're very passionate about number 2. I am very passionate about number 3. So let's move on there. And that is the whole welcome of the experience. We've gotten past maybe that first 7 seconds. Maybe we're into 45 seconds now. You're pulling in the driveway, the exterior of the home, the opening of the door, and the welcome. Okay, first of all, I deal with beach properties. We have rollout trash cans. Are both wheels on the trash can? Does the trash can actually operate properly? That's a first impression you'll never get over. If the thing's on one wheel or no wheels or leaning to the left, that's the indelible first impression. How about landscaping? I know it's a excuse typically here on the beach. Oh no, we like the natural environment. Not. Guests want to see a nicely cared for property. They like landscaping, folks. P.S. And then when you pull into the property, the carport area, do you have pool toys, last week's trash, sand by the front door, cobwebs hanging down? All these things. You got to think about it. And then when you go in the door, are the lights on or are they off? Are the shades up or down? Do you tilt them or do you keep them even? Do you have a welcome note or not? This is really the moment I think about a lot, and I notice when I take my family on vacations. The excitement's palpable, even with the little kids, and we have grandkids now in our brood. They run through the house, they pick out the room, and you go around very cautiously and very curiously. You want to make sure you have that guest perspective about, is this exactly what we were expecting? You know, people want to clean their bedroom, they want to check the amenities, they want to fall on the couch, you want to turn the music on, and then they want to crank open a beer and welcome themselves at home. It's very different from your usual entrance into your house on a regular basis, or a property you've been to many, many times. Think about each of these things and be sure the property makes that a pleasant experience. So, Sarah, how about some of these things? Lights on or off, shades up or down. What do you think?
Well, lights on, I struggle with that one.
Mm-hmm.
We try to leave the front door light on, the exterior light, but we don't leave lights on inside. Do you?
We typically have not, unless we absolutely know there's going to be a late arrival.
Okay. Yeah. I think it can be a slightly creepy to have the lights on inside because the guest is like, is somebody in there? All right. What about shades up, shades down?
Well, here's the thing. It's called an SPA, or a standard property appearance. Do you folks have one? Shades should be on that list. I, not surprisingly, am pretty anal about this. I want the shades down, but I want them turned at a 45-degree angle down. So light can get in, but people can't look in. So shades down, angled, please.
They have like a compass out. They're figuring out if they're exactly at 45 degrees.
I'm sorry,
that's impressive.
That's the wrong 45 degrees. No, I meant this way, But
I have a feeling you have shades down at 45 degrees because it's hot and you don't want the sun shining in.
Exactly, yes.
So that's why this applies differently depending. You have to figure out your own destination, right? It's not super hot where I am, and we want you to walk in and see the mountains, especially in the living room.
Right.
I think it's so depressing if it's dark in there. So we require the shades to be fully up for when they walk in and see the view. I think bedrooms, you can have them at the 45-degree angle for us, but we're not doing it because of heat. So we could have them up if it feels private. I'm also really happy you mentioned the whole thing about the exterior because we don't have trash cans. That's a different story. We take the trash out for the guests, but we, have garages. And I don't know if you have too many garages, but garages are big where I am. And I think we all get tone deaf to what the garage looks like. Like we might inspect the property and we clean it out of mud and snow and everything in the mountains, but we might not see that all the owner's junk is in there, right?
Do you remember what was in the garage in the place I rented in Steamboat?
No, what?
The owner's car.
Oh.
I was like, what? It came with a car? No, I'm sorry. That's not included in the rental, Mr. Cafferty.
Yeah, that's not unusual either, Tim, because our guests our owners are, some of them have a lot of cash and they live far away and they're just like, we're going to leave our old car here so we don't have to rent a car every time. And I always have this awkward conversation with the owner, like, that's not good to have it there. You have to store it somewhere else.
Yeah, it's not a good impression.
So I think that exterior, the way it looks, we call it xeriscaping here. That's what people try to say to get out of things. Oh, it's xeriscaped. Okay, it looks like crap. So we got to figure something out.
Right. Well, from landscaping in our area, again, not limited to things like not only the grass cutting, but mulching, rock beds, pruning back the brushes when they get bigger. Spring and fall cleanup is important. And then the invariable sand volleyball court, which has weeds growing out of it. All these are impression things that you need to take care of. And then, of course, we call it home care, where we actually have someone go every week and make sure the carport is blown out, the spider webs are down, the outside furniture is arranged properly, the walkways are clear, those kinds of things. These are all critical first impression things, folks.
It really does. And then, my obsession with the welcome note, that's part of number 3. I think you should walk in and see your name. I think it should say, welcome Smith family. And it should be big and bold on a card. And to me, that feels almost free to do. You just have to know who's showing up. Hopefully, you know their name, or that's a problem. And you have to write it out. And I think that should be in your face when you walk into the main area of the home.
And the last one I have on this, cleanliness. Again, standard property appearance should be that everything is cleaned and they don't find hair in the sink on their first visit to the bathroom, because there, again, is a situation you cannot recover from. That is going to make its way onto a review site somewhere.
All right, one more thing on number 3, okay? One more thing. If we could do a whole podcast on number 3, Tim. greeters. Okay, some of you have lower end properties or smaller properties, or I manage 2 bedrooms that I wouldn't have a greeter for. But I have a house specifically in Steamboat that has an indoor pool, and that makes me highly paranoid for obvious reasons. And so we have a greeter for any guests that arrive there. If you have a greeter, which I think Tim has greeters for his high-end properties too, they need to be highly trained, very interactive and personal. You can kill the first impression by actually inserting a person into this mix.
Yes.
They have to be worth inserting into the mix and ready to really make the guest feel at home and explaining the home and then getting out of there. Don't be an oversharer. Any comments about greeters?
Yes, I had an experience with one of our premier companies in VRMA, who I have dealt with, and you may have as well, One Fine Stay. We rented a place in London a few years ago. I still remember Genevieve. Genevieve was our greeter. She called me when we were still in the States, getting ready to fly to London. We got to London. She knew when we were arriving. She called to make sure we arrived properly, and she was there at the door when we arrived. And she gave us the run through on the house, actually provided a telephone for us as well, which is kind of cool. You know, I of course lost the phone and had to pay for it, but that's another story. But at any rate, I had all the numbers programmed where I could get a hold of Genevieve or anybody I needed. It was a great touch, and it is something I remember back again to the welcome experience. I still remember it years later.
I think we can, it's very common in Europe to have greeters, and I think we can learn from that. I think we may not do that as much as we should be doing that.
Yep.
So, all right, we're going to move on to number 4 of the reasons and ways that you can make this first 15 minutes an incredible impression. Number 4 is pretty straightforward. It's honesty in photography. And you know, Tim, we have not talked about photography a lot. I might want to do a podcast soon about that. You want to make your photos look amazing, but you don't want to lie in your photos. Okay. So you can't show that this place looks like has brand new furniture and gorgeous, and you didn't update the photo for 15 years. All the furniture's worn out, or maybe all that furniture's gone and there's different furniture. And maybe someone says, hold up, I thought there were bunk beds in this room.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there a king bed? Wait, this isn't even the place I rented.
Yeah, you're so right. Do you take pictures regularly, or you do take them when the house is onboarded or the property is onboarded and never worried about it again? I will tell you, the biggest pushback I get on this is not from my marketing team, who's out there taking pictures right now, I think, always updating. The pushback is from the property owners going, oh, no, that picture looks really good. I don't want to replace that. Yeah, I know there's a house that blocks the view now, but it's okay. Leave it. No, you can't do that. That's the trustworthiness thing again. You got to make sure people understand what they're getting and they walk in the door and they are confirming their best feelings, not questioning those.
Yeah, that I forgot to even mention. That's a great point about when construction occurs.
Yeah.
That happened at one of our properties where there was nothing on either side. And then somebody that owned the lot next to it built, I don't know, I think it was 3 feet between them. I don't even know how that's legal, but it was 3 feet. It was like right next to the windows. And we had to reshoot it. And the owner was kind of like, oh, do you have to show that? Yes, we have to show that. You don't want to walk in and see there's a house in front of you that you didn't know was going to be there.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to number 5 it is now. And Sarah, I'm going to pull a changeroo here because we've been kind of going back and forth. If you guys don't notice, we usually hand the baton back and forth. But Sarah, I'm going to let you go off on number 4 because there is nothing worse than arriving to a house and being hungry and thirsty and having a roll of toilet paper waiting for you. That's it, right?
Yes. So number 5 is we're hungry and thirsty. I've walked into plenty of vacation rentals that the welcome gift was 3 trash bags, dish soap, and some sticky guest book sitting on the counter.
No.
Okay. And I'm hungry, and maybe I don't plan as much as all of you do, but this is just my favorite of the ones I think everybody should do and think about having a great arrival of fun. The way you do that is to have food and drink for them if you can somehow figure out how to afford that. I'm going to throw out some statistics I came up with. Are you ready? I made them all up.
Oh, good.
Here we go.
Okay, good.
I'm going with 84% of guests are either hungry or want to drink something when they arrive. What are you doing about that, right? You're just hoping they stopped at the grocery store with 12 people in tow before they got to the home. I'm making up another stat. I'm going with 93% decide to just get settled and find the home, and everybody gets in the house, and then going to send the moms out to the store and they'll get all that, and bring it back. But what inevitably happens, Tim?
I am cowering under my desk right now because I am guilty of all of this. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm getting a new perspective on this whole hungry and thirsty thing.
So you're guilty of sending the moms out, but you're also probably guilty of not thinking about this.
You're right. Up until now, you're exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I guess I just really want to eat and drink. So what happens is they arrive with no food, no drink, and they're tired from traveling. And then there's nothing there for them. And it's kind of like, wonk, wonk. We're on vacation.
Yeah,
and then the moms are like, I'll go get the stuff.
That is not how you want to start your vacation. If you're in a hotel, they have food in the lobby or food in the fridge of the room that you can pay $7 for a candy bar for. But we as VR managers have to figure this out. And I have seen very few who have. If you're renting higher end vacation rentals and your average stay is, let's say, $2,000 and up, I think Sarah is telling you should be providing some snacks and drinks when the guests arrive.
Yeah. And I will tell you, Tim, I'm as guilty as anyone here. For a long time, I was all about the guest gift, but we were trying to give them a hat or a glass with our cute little Ski WP logo or a t-shirt or something they could take home. And then we finally got onto, they probably want food. Food is fun. So then we were giving like fancy chocolates in this box that you had to unwrap for 15 minutes. That whole 15 minutes, you're unwrapping chocolates. Or we gave them toffee for a while. And finally, as a team, we just took the time to look and discuss and said, hold up. These guests need something they can all share and eat. So I don't want my kids to come in and eat a bunch of chocolate. And they need more of a real snack. So I am excited to tell you that I found this vendor. It's like a meat and cheese high-end place in Steamboat. And it's called Laura the Butcher. And I ordered a platter of meat and cheese on Christmas Eve. And we all came back. We do this skin as a family. We skin up the mountain. I know half of you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we came back and the meat and cheese plate was there and we devoured it. And so we arranged with her for a discount price, right? Because we're getting so many. Make sure you always work on your pricing for this because you're giving away a product you're paying for. And at our high-end properties, we now give this cheese and meat plate in the fridge, wrapped up beautifully in like paper with a little ribbon, like a little classy thing, and a bottle of white wine. And guests are digging it, you guys. It's so worth. It's $50, I think, is what we spend on the whole thing. And we just secured the fun. It's like a visceral reaction, like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. We have this fun thing to eat while we look around the house and check everything out.
Okay. Am I supposed to comment? You're just, you can't compete. Okay. You win. Oh man, that's so great. That's good. So the last one we have for you is how to get help. You've checked in. If there's a question, is it easy to contact you? Or is 4:30 check-in time and 5 o'clock the office is closed? So it may have been easy to park. It may have been easy to enter the house. The blinds are the way they're supposed to be. The snacks and the wine is being devoured, but then something happens. Wait, where's the parking pass? How do we get to the beach? Why does the hot tub have water rolling over the side with a garden hose stuck in it? Be sure the guest is clear on how to get in touch with you. We, Sarah and I, collectively think text is the solution here, but that's up to you. It should not involve people having to call and hit 4 different prompts on an auto attendant before you can get a live person. So And then they're, where are you? What's wrong? The great thing about texting is you're using a sophisticated texting system, and the guest number is already in there. It tells the agent at your company where they're staying. What a wonderful Secret Service feature that is, Sarah.
Yeah, John DeJulius would be very proud of that moment, right? That we have this Secret Service. Mm-hmm. Those are the 6 steps. Before we summarize, I wanted to, if I could, Tim, tell you my story about when I went to stay at a vacation rental this winter.
We can't wait. We also want to know where it is, but you're not telling us.
Oh, no, I'm never going to reveal. Because it really could happen anywhere. I think it could happen at my company. I think it could happen at yours. Everybody has some holes in their process here. So this is how it went. I'm going to go through each point and tell you where they failed.
Okay.
But the pre-arrival, the guy calls me and says, okay, are you all set for arrival tomorrow? I mean, what a nice thing,
sure.
Right? And I said, oh, yeah, okay. I haven't really looked at anything, like every guest, but I think I know where it is. Anything weird about the building? Like, how do you find the door to the condo? He goes, yeah, that specific condo that you're in that condo building is really confusing to find. And I said, oh, okay, well, tell me now, like, so I don't have that big moment. And he goes, yeah, you'll just figure it out. And then once you do, you'll be fine after that. Okay. Why don't you tell me? Okay. So then the directions, right? We get pretty close to where it is, and it's dark and it's snowing. And I think, Tim, in your world, it's raining sometimes, right?
It does.
So you can't see anything, and we can't find the turn into the building. We see the building, but we pass the turn because there's a lot of cars. So then we're at a traffic light. We have to figure out how to turn around. We have no idea where the parking is. We finally figure out it's way behind the back. Then where's the elevator? And then is there a luggage cart? Because we have all this stuff, right, with us, all the ski stuff. No idea if there's luggage carts because they never told us. Then we go up 2 floors. We're walking the halls. My kids are running up and down the halls trying to find number 2, I think was the unit number. They can't find it. They're like, Mama, we found 1, we found 5, 6, 7, 8. So then Willem starts going upstairs, downstairs. Now I don't know where he is.
Oh, Lord.
Chris is like, where are we going? I don't know. Where is number 2? There's no lights. Anyway, finally, my kid finds this door to the outside, and he opens it, and he runs out there, and he goes, I found number 2. It was like we found a treasure, you know? And then we get to that front door. There's no light on, so we can't see the lockbox. There's 2 lockboxes, of course. I have to get our phone out. I have to figure out how to do that flashlight thing. Everyone's standing behind me. They're all saying, what's the code? What's the code? I'm like, I don't know. And then we finally get in. Okay. Oh, and by the way, it's totally freezing out, and it's, snowing sideways. So we walk in, all the lights are off, dark hallway. Blinds are not even at your 45 degrees. They're closed. So it's pitch black in there. We don't know which way to turn. And nothing looks staged, and there isn't even a welcome note. So it's that moment again where I always freak out that I'm at the wrong spot. Anyway, the next thing would be, of course, we talk about honesty and photography. It looked worse than the photography for sure, I would say, but nothing too crazy. Just definitely didn't wow. And then there's, no food, not even nuts, no crackers, nada. There wasn't even coffee, Tim. I mean, I know I'm discerning, but come on, give me some coffee. Now I'm thinking I got to go find a coffee store because I can't make it in the morning. I can't make it to 9 without coffee. And then the final step about how to get help is we go, all right, we're all settled here. We're good. All right. They told us we had to have that parking pass on our car. Where's the parking pass? Oh, there's no parking pass. Oh my gosh. And then Chris is like, we're going to get towed. We're going to get towed out of there. Oh gosh. Okay. Let me call. So I call, and it's like 6 o'clock. So it's not 12 o'clock at night. Okay. It's 6 o'clock. I think you should get an answer at that point. An answering service picked up. So I don't know if this is what a lot of vacation rental companies do, that they have these answering services at night, but I'm telling you guys, test yours out because this was not impressive. She has all these pregnant pauses, and finally she goes, okay. let me see if I can contact someone at the company tonight. I'm like, well, am I going to get towed? I mean, she goes, let me check. Okay, I'll get back to you.
Oh my.
And an hour later, nothing. So I call again because, I mean, the worst thing is we're going to get towed. And so I call again and she's like, yeah, I never heard back from the company. Let me call you back again in a bit. Finally, she called 2 hours later and she said, yeah, they said you're fine. You won't get towed. Yeah, I'm picky, but we can do better, everyone. We can all do better and make people have a great vacation rental experience. And I want us all to think about those first few minutes as the guest approaches the home.
Sarah Bradford, ladies and gentlemen, her world tour of coming to your vacation rental is available for you.
No one's ever going to invite me to come. Maybe we should take that whole part out of the podcast because I want to get invited.
No, that's great. I think we all can identify with it as well. And so just as long as it's the other agency down the street, not ours, right? And so you also have one other thing I want to let you add on here too, Sarah, and that, you're wondering in the first 15 minutes is solid at your company. How do I figure it out? Your GM just did something recently, I think, that was really good.
Yeah, well, it's back to having new people go around and use the directions and try walking into a property. My GM is taking over Steamboat as well now. And so he's getting to know Steamboat. So he came over and he had to sort of pretend he was a guest. And he followed our guest app. He only read what was given to him. He didn't ask me for directions. He tried to find the place. He walked in and observed. And he had many things to say, like, that garage is a mess. There's this on the wall or that on the floor. And I was like, oh, yeah, because you're seeing it with new eyes. And you will just learn so much by doing that.
That's great. Okay, so we have gone over our usual time allotment, but I hope you guys really like this. I thought it was a great exercise. So let's summarize and wrap this up. The tidy 6 points you can focus on to really nail that first 15 minutes of that guest experience with you on their vacation. Number 1 was pre-arrival prep. Make sure you do it. Everything's squared away.
Number 2 is directions, and we don't mean Google Map.
Number 3 is that when you open the door, when you pull in the driveway, when you look at it for the first time, the welcoming moment. And then followed up by number 4, making sure your photography is honest with your guest.
Number 5, my favorite one, is take care of those basic needs your guests have. They're hungry and they're thirsty. Give them something.
And number 5, make sure you give them an easy way to contact you. Sarah, this was one of the best. Great job. I think that personal story at the end really set it clear for everybody.
Okay, and if you're out there thinking it was your company because I stayed with you, it wasn't you.
What did Will Rogers say back in the day? You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. Don't miss your opportunity, folks. We've just given you some nuggets, and so up to you now to deal with it as you see fit.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Tim. And we'd love to hear from everybody as always, especially on our Facebook page. Let us know how you take care of those first 15 minutes. We'll see you next time on Sarah and T.
So long, everybody.
And that puts a wrap on another episode of Sarah and T, the Professional Vacation Rental Managers podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Sarah Bradford of Winter Park Lodging Company and Steamboat Lodging Company, as well as Tim Cafferty of Outer Banks Blue and Sandbridge Blue Realty Services. Music is provided by Ben Sound. Sarah and T invite you to join them for their next episode. But in the meantime, they encourage you to stay in touch through their website, sarahandT.com, social media channels, or give them a call at 336-612-1612. They love to hear from listeners, giving them feedback on what you just heard or providing ideas for future episodes. We look forward to speaking with you next time on Sarah and T.
Folks, I don't know if it was me, but they talk about 6 ways to a better business, and they only listed 5. So that leaves the final item up to me, I guess. Number 6, to be a more plugged in, vacation rental professional to keep your pulse on the best practices in the industry, tips like we learned here today from Sarah and T, subscribe to their podcast. Sarah and T's podcast is available on anywhere podcasts can be found. You can get updates when you subscribe so that new episodes pop into your feed. And I think in general, just a separate and valuable professional perspective on what it takes to run a great vacation rental business. Regular programming of the Unlocked podcast to resume. Thank you, Sarah and T. That was fun.